नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, seventh chapter, verse number 3. कृणायाम् उदयो अर्भस्य कामश्च क्रीडी शान्यतः स्वतस्तृप्तस्य च कथं निवृत्तस्य सदान्यतः. कृणायाम् उदयम् अर्भस्य कृणायाम् उदयमो अर्भस्य कामश्च कामश्चिक्रीडी शान्यतः स्वतस्तृप्तस्य च कथं निवृत्तस्य सदान्यतः. Kridayam, in the matter of playing. Udiyama, enthusiasm. Arbhasya, of the boys. Kama, desire. Chi kridi sha, willingness to play. Anyata, with other boys. Swata triptasya, for one who is self-satisfied. Cha, also. Katham, what for? Nivritasya, one who is detached. Sada, at all times. Anyata, otherwise. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Boys are enthusiastic to play with other boys or with various diversions because they are encouraged by desire. But there is no possibility of such desire for the Lord because He is self-satisfied and detached from everything at all times. Purport. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second, there is no possibility that anything besides Him can exist. He expands Himself by His energies in multi forms of self expansions and separated expansions as well, just as fire expands itself by heat and light. Since there is no other existence besides the Lord Himself, the Lord's association with anything manifests His association with Himself. In Bhagavad Gita 9.4, the Lord says, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani na chaham teshva avasthita. The complete manifestation of the cosmic situation is an expansion of the Lord Himself in His impersonal feature. All things are situated in Him only, yet He is not in them. That is the opulence of the Lord's attachment and detachment. He is attached to everything, yet He is detached from all. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Desh Tarine Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Ikvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpataruvescha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare नित्यानंद अवधूतेन्दु वसुत प्राण वल्लभ जानव जीवितपति कृष्ण प्रेम पद प्रभु मावती श्रीमान सचिनंदन पूर्वज भावन मुक्त जगत त्राता रक्त गौर कलेवर नमो नमो अनिरुद्धाय ऋषिकेश इंद्रियात्मने नमः परमहंसाय पूर्णाय निवृत्तात्मने स्वर्गपूर्ग द्वाराय नित्यं श्री सदे नमः नमः हिरण्यवीर्याय जातुहृताय तंतवे. First of all, I'd like to pay to the lotus feet of all the assembled Vaishnavas to give me blessings so that I can speak something which adds some value to this time. I'd also like to thank Madhupati Prabhu for ordering me to speak on this verse. And with that, he also empowered so that he gave some strength to my walk so that I can do some value addition to this time. We are discussing about reading through the discussion between Vidur Maharaj and Mahatma Vidur and Maitreya Muni. And in the last sixth canto, the inquiry from Vidur Maharaj was that how did the entire creation happen? And that's that is the way a devotee should approach Krishna Katha. We see that there are so many Sahajiyas, Katha Vachak, they directly jump to um, the Ras Leela part or the 10th canto subject matter. And that's not the right way to approach it. And here, the example is being set by two great Vaishnavas that how to approach Krishna Katha. He did not directly inquire that, okay, tell me the pastimes of Lord Krishna. He said that, okay, tell me how did the creation happen? And that is similar to um, taking darshan of Lord. Right? We start from the lotus feet. So much so that Prabhupada stresses this point that one should not go above the lotus feet of Krishna when taking darshan if the rati has not, if the love for the lotus feet has not developed, if our heart is not purified enough, we should not go above the lotus feet of Krishna. Similarly, we should not go to the other parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam unless we have nicely understood this concept of creation. That's why we see that it's not by accident that there, we'll see in the first three cantos, four cantos, there's so many times that this creation has been discussed. So many times from different angles. So that's which we all should pay attention to. Now, in this verse, there are two things which are being talked about. One is that how Lord is attached with everything, but at the same time he is detached. So he is Atma Rama. He's the one who is self-satisfied. He doesn't need anything external to make him happy. Now, and the other part which is mentioned here is in this verse that he's giving example. Vidur Maharaj is asking that it's a question that why this when Lord is actually self-satisfied and he's detached from everything at all times, then why is this creation happening? Okay. uh, like boys are enthusiastic to play with other boys or with various diversions because they are encouraged by desire. So this desire is a very um, desire is in fact the driving force. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking about, that can we uh, delve a little deeper into the what is the desire, what kind of desire we should have, and then what kind of desires we should not have. Okay. And then what happens with these desires. So if we see, um, practically also in our life, we can experience just by little contemplation that desire is actually the root cause of everything whatever we do, from day to day life. If we if we do not have desire to have a house, have nice food, nice prasadam, and then have a comfortable life, then people will not work. This is like, um, desire is the one which is actually driving this, and then is actually making us go through all these miseries as well. If we did not desire to enjoy separately from Krishna, we'll not be in this world. So this is the driving force which is causing all the miseries and all the problems in our life. And whenever we desire, there are two things which happen: either it is fulfilled or it is unfulfilled. Now, if desire is fulfilled, then what happens? We get satisfied. That's the end of it? No. Once the desire is fulfilled, it causes more desire. We are never satisfied. That's the way. That's the programming of this world, and then this um, uh, material nature which is driving us. That it's never going to be satisfied. Just like examples are given in our shastra, that just like when we put ghee in fire, you put butter in fire, what it does, it doesn't satisfy the fire. The fire is even more vigorous. It has more power. Okay? And then we can see from different examples. For example, uh, we can take example of Sahasra Kavach. Now Sahasra Kavach had 1,000 armors, and then each of that was supposed to be uh, broken only after 1,000 years of austerity, and um, then thousands year of fighting. So 1,000, so every armor was worth 2,000, and then he had such 1,000 armors. So that's 2 million years. It's kind of that. Okay. Now he was not. He was still not satisfied even after he had um, such a long life already promised. When he saw that, oh, Nara Narayana Rishi are actually meditating, he thought, oh, there's a problem here. That if what if they meditate for 1,000 years and then one of them decides to fight? So let me go and then disturb. We see the example of Hiranyakashipu similarly. Um, So he there's no end to. He became very powerful. He got the boon that he cannot be killed by so many different logic, all the if else conditions he applied, that he was practically invincible. But did he stop there? No. He said that, okay, start praying for start worshipping me. No, he went so far, so forth that he tried to kill his own son. It was just beyond his powers. No? If he had power, if he was powerful enough, he could have killed Prahlad Maharaj. He just uh, did not have that power to kill Prahlad Maharaj, and that's why he did not. So that's the nature of the desire. Um, even Bhagavad Gita says that dhyato vishayan punsha sanga teshu pajayate. What happens when we are meditating on something, um, the attachment for that uh, thing develops, and then what happens with that attachment? Sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodho vijayate. So with that attachment, then lova, lust arises, and then when that is unfulfilled, then krodha, and then with krodha comes the bewilderment. So it's very very important that we check, keep a check on our desires. We also know the story of Vishwamitra, that he was the king of in he was before he became Brahmarshi, he was king of the entire earthly planet, and uh, he went to visit Vasishtha Muni, and there he saw Subala cow, who was the desire fulfilling cow, and then he had the entire earthly planet, but what did he desire? Oh, what will a rishi do with this cow? This such a potent cow who can fulfill all the desires. So please give it to me. And so far, so that he wanted to fight. So this is another aspect of desire we can actually see. Acharya has explained. It's not that that's something which we inherently want. It also comes from seeing that, oh, this other person has something, so I want it. For example, if you're living in a village and then your neighbor has two cows, you have one, you're not happy with it. Maybe that one cow is fully satisfying the needs of the milk needs of the house, but you're not satisfied with it because the neighbor has two cows. You want to have two cows. If you're living in urban area, um, my neighbor has a good car. I want a good car. So it is actually by looking at uh, that what is the neighbor has, what that competition is there, which is not good. Yeah. So um, so what do we do then? Then we should move out to a secluded place, and then just not have any sangha, and then we can control this desire, because we see that it's coming from looking at how what others have. No, even that's also not possible. Desirelessness is a myth. No? And that actually, when I was thinking about this, that reminded of the story of Shaubhari. No? Shaubhari Muni, we all know the story that Shaubhari Muni was actually uh, submerged in the uh, Yamuna River. And at that time, Mandata was the king of the um Mathura, and he was actually submerged in the Yamuna river, and then he was meditating there. And then he saw two fishes, engaged in sexual activity. And at that time, the desire came in his mind that, oh, I want to have a married life. And then he immediately came out of his sadhana and then approached Mandata. And then he said that, uh, I want to marry your daughter. He had 50 daughters. So he said that, well, my daughters are free to choose their own husband. So he says, okay, fine. So he approached to the quarters of um, his daughters, but at the same time, he thought that, oh, I'm old person with all this loose skin and then old looking old. So let me use my power of tapasya to convert me into a young boy. Okay? And that's what he did. And then he married all 50 of them. So we can see from this example that it cannot be that we are, if we go to a secluded place and then uh, we can be free from the desires. It's practically not possible. There are two other examples in the similar context. One is from the meditation of Vishwamitra, that how he was perfectly situated, and he was driven by his desire to have this brahmarshi status so that he can own this subala cow. And during that time when he was meditating, um, king of the heaven Indra thought that, oh, he's after my kingdom, and he sends Menaka to break his meditation. So we see that the two personalities here, king of Indra, king of heaven Indra, and Vishwamitra. King of heaven Indra is also not feeling secure. He also wants to be protected, that, oh, nobody else should have um, any powerful yagya, tapasya, or austerity, because this person is behind my kingdom. And similarly, here Vishwamitra. Uh, Similarly, we can see Bharat Maharaj. He was nicely in the Vanaprastha, okay? But he suddenly came in contact with this deer, uh, and then he developed attachment for it. So, um, so we see that this is not the solution. Moving to secluded place. In fact, Prabhupada gives this example that it is like moving from one room. So a person, desires are like, if you want to get rid of the desires, it's like moving from one room to another room. So you have to have other higher taste, higher desires. Okay? You cannot just be on, we cannot achieve this state of desirelessness. That's a myth. There'll always be desires. It's just that, can we have higher purpose? Can we have, um, no? Can we replace it by something of the higher taste? And Prabhupada is leading by example, and then he's saying that no, um, a devotee should have all the opulences in the world, because a perfect devotee knows that, okay, how to engage a material thing into the service of Krishna. Here we see that it may look like very it may look very odd to outsiders, that, oh, here there's a sannyasi and who is sitting here on such a beautiful throne. What's what a sannyasi has to do with such a beautiful, comfortable asana, simhasana? That's looks like more for king. But Prabhupada knew that how to engage anything and everything in the service of Krishna. It reminds me of a past time that Prabhupada was uh, sitting in a Jew temple, and then somebody came and then gave him a beautiful, very expensive watch. And Prabhupada took out his watch he was wearing, and then wore this other expensive watch. He was accepting it on behalf of Krishna. And, um, And then after a few minutes, another person came, and then he gave another watch to Prabhupada. And this watch was um, on the cheaper side. It was, simple, probably 100, 200 rupees watch. And then Prabhupada took out this, few $100 watch, or maybe a few $1,000 watch from his hand, and then accepted this simple uh, watch, and then wore that. So he was not attached uh, to the object. He was simply accepting it on the behalf of Krishna. So that's how a devotee should be, yukta vairagya. And Krishna also explains this, in Bhagavad Gita, that yat karoshi yad agnashi yad juhoshi dadashi yat tapasvashi kaunteya tad kurushva madarpana. So he's like, whatever you do, and then we can we have our daily daily life, right from you know waking up till sleeping, and then all the items in between. Even sleeping can be engaged in the service of Krishna. How can it be? No, the devotees who go for Mangala Arti, no, they have to wake up 3 a.m., 2:30 a.m., 2 a.m. So uh, they sleep early, so that the rest of the day um, can be utilized. Okay? They are probably working after the morning seva. So that's an austerity too. Then you sleep early, you try to wind up your daily activity, and then try to go to sleep early so that you can wake up early. So this sleeping also is becoming now a devotional service. How wonderful is that? And that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam Pavitram Vidam Uttamam. You know, Pratyaksha Agamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam. Susukham Kartum Avyayam. It's very easy to do. Susukham Kartum. No? And Avyayam. Avyayam means it doesn't deteriorate with time. Once done is done. It's like, once you deposited $100 in bank account, that's there. That's going to be there forever, no matter what. So that's what is the dovetailing of the desires. And then when we do that, we have to be careful about the weeds around this bhakti. So we developed that, okay, anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadi avritam. So anukulena Krishna anusilanam bhaktir uttamam. So we developed this, that okay, I'm going to have only those desires which are for favorable for Krishna's service, which are for Krishna. But at the same time, this creeper has started, so we have to be careful about the weeds which are coming around, and then those could be very very dangerous. Uh, and just like when we do gardening, and then there are weeds, we have to make sure that we take them out timely, otherwise they will overtake the actual plant. So similarly, these weeds. I was reading a letter which Prabhupada wrote to someone in Chicago, and there it was mentioned that uh, Prabhupada was mentioning, question was around that the two questions. One was that there is a lot of competition while book selling, and so much so that there is envy. And Prabhupada's answer was that, oh, if you're developing enviousness, then please stop it and go and then do some chanting, cleans your heart. So when we are doing devotional service, we have to be very careful, because a lot of times we would be engaged, and then I'm engaged in and then doing some devotional service from outside, it looks like, but I'm so much into Maya at that time. I'm doing it for the pride, I'm doing it for recognition. I'm doing it for that, oh, so that other people respect me, oh, so that other people serve me. Okay, and then the moment those kind of desires are coming in the heart, then um, even though engaged in the devotional service, I'm so much into Maya. So we have to be very careful. Okay? And um, and we have to guard against those and then take the action timely. And then similarly, um, the second question in that letter was answered by Prabhupada, that can we use some kind of lie, some kind of exaggeration to sell the books? And Prabhupada said that um, there are so many wonderful things already uh, about the books that you don't have to take the shelter of lying. Um, he says that sometimes these techniques can be used by a expert, somebody who is expert in Krishna consciousness, because that person knows how to stay away, stay detached. But right there, who you know, uh, we have to be very careful that what do we do, in the name of devotional service.